Hello there, welcome to Coaching with Tally. We're here today in a series all about increasing peace in your life. And today, specifically, we are talking about moving from dreaming into doing. So getting yourself unstuck from that place where you get in analysis paralysis, you find yourself procrastinating in perfectionism, and just not moving the things forward that you really do want to move forward. That can cause a lot of stress. And a way to increase peace in your life is to simply get into action. And I'm going to give you some practical tools, 3 specific things that you can do today that can help move you, get you unstuck, get you from a place of dreaming into doing. So today, talking about creating a solution and getting started. My name is Tally and I'm a life and personal development coach, and I have the honor and privilege of getting to work with incredible leaders and really all about getting them aligned to who it is they most truly are, like knowing who they are, standing in that, firing on all cylinders, looking at every area of life and having everything moving out, growing and working, and getting you into a place of overflow in your life. So you create a life that you love living and you find yourself in overflow from that place. So that's what I get to do. I do private coaching, group coaching. I lead a mastermind and facilitate retreats, and getting ready to launch. This is for me one of those things of getting into massive imperfect action. I want to create, let's get the language right here. I am creating a community and I'm super excited about that. So getting people gathered together to be on this journey with each other, doing a lot of what I do with my private clients in a community setting. Super excited about that. So that's what I am getting into action around. And part of that for me is just declaring that I'm doing it, saying that I'm doing it, committing first and figuring out the how, carrying it out later. So I am with you guys in this process of stepping into things when you don't know all that there is to know, doing it anyway, just getting moving. So creating a solution and getting started. That's what we're talking about today. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. It's a Chinese proverb. The second best time to plant a tree is today. So not procrastinating it any longer, but getting going right now. We're going to talk about some of the things that get in the way for us of that, why it is that we stall or hold back or stay on the sidelines rather than getting in the game. So understanding it can be helpful. And then I'm going to give you 3 very tangible, practical solutions, and we're going to activate something today. So you'll actually walk away from this time getting in action, getting you moving. So moving past fear, moving past perfectionism into massive imperfect action is what it's all about. Just getting yourself going. So taking immediate action, even if you don't know all of the things to do. I'm going to give you a math problem right now. Remember story problems from math class? You want to play with me? You maybe have heard this before, but there are 5 frogs sitting on a log. 4 of them decide to take action. How many are left? If you said 1, you got the answer wrong. 5 are still left on the log, because committing to taking action, deciding to take action is not the same thing as actually taking action. So what we want to do is support you guys right now, today, getting into action around something specific that you find yourself wanting to do but holding back. So I want you to identify one thing. We're actually going to get into practice around this together today. Think about one thing that you've been wanting to do, but you find yourself finding other things that are more important. You find yourself procrastinating. You find yourself in analysis paralysis, trying to figure out the best way to do it, and you haven't actually stepped forward. You haven't actually stepped into creating the thing that you want to create or doing the thing that you want to do. So identify that one thing. We're just going to practice this with one thing today, but go ahead and identify it. If you have paper near you, write it down, because it'll be actually helpful to have it written down. So I want you to think about what that one thing is that you want to get into action around, that you've been thinking about doing, that you're finding yourself procrastinating or stalling around. So write that down. And I want you to think about what are some specific things that you can do to break that bigger thing down into small steps. So this is number 1 of 3, is taking a bigger action step and breaking it down into bite-sized things. This is something I do with my clients all the time. When they're like, I'm going to do this week. And then if they come back more than 1 week with, they said they were going to do something that they didn't do, I'm like, okay, let's let's look at what is getting in the way here. So it's either some kind of limiting belief or mindset, something that we can break through, or it's just too overwhelming. It's too big and we need to break it down into, okay, well, let's break this down and do one step toward this thing this week. And sometimes just getting in these mini steps and celebrating the wins in those steps makes a huge deal, like a huge difference. It's a really big deal when you break it down for yourself and celebrate the growth and the movement and the small steps toward. So I want you to think about this thing that you're wanting to do, and I want you to break it down into the next 5 steps that you think would be really supportive. So what are 5 things that you can do? And maybe that is researching. Maybe you're stuck because there's just not enough information for you to make a decision about how you're going to do something. Maybe it's reaching out to somebody that you know that knows more than you about this and asking for some support. Maybe it is brainstorming. Maybe you just need to sit down with a blank piece of paper and like mind dump this and think about all the different ways that you could do it and write a list of those and then decide which one. So there are certain things like that that can kind of help get you unstuck, get you moving. Maybe it is, I'm going to announce publicly, like I did today at the beginning of this, something that you're committed to creating, even if you don't know how you're going to do it yet. You don't know all of the tech that's involved, or you don't know all of the steps that are involved, or you don't know like all of the ways you're going to carry it out. Commit first, carry out later. So maybe it's just declaring or making an announcement to a group of friends or family or on social media that you're going to do something. So maybe it's commitment. Whatever it is for you, I want you to break it down into the next 5 steps that you could do that could help get you unstuck and get you moving forward. So I did this today in a Toastmasters group, and there was somebody in the group who's like, I have said I want to learn guitar. I put it on my vision board this year that it's going to happen this year, and I keep creating excuses for why not to start. And he's like, I've been telling myself that I'm not musical for years, that I can't learn to play guitar for years. So he's like, it's probably just a self-fulfilling prophecy. So what I am going to do as a result of this time together today is I'm going to put on my calendar lessons every Wednesday for the rest of the month. So he was calling today and he was going to schedule lessons. So there you go. It's like a step forward. And the other thing with this step is to get it on the calendar. So that is one thing. Number 2 is to stop overthinking it, to get out of this analysis paralysis place where we're like, well, I'm going to figure it out first and then I'll take action. I want you to get into immediate action, like something today that you're actually going to do. Put something on the calendar, schedule something, go live and say that you're going to do something, whatever it is. Get yourself into immediate action today around this thing. So what can you do actually today that will move you forward in it? And the third thing I want to talk about is this fear of failure, because that's one of the big things that keeps us on the sideline, that keeps us out of the game of our own life, things that we want to do. Yes, our shoulds become musts. Instead of I should do this, I must do this. Yeah, Tony Robbins talks about that. We really rise to whatever our standard is. Whenever we get to a place where we're like, this is what I am going to do, this is my new standard for something, then we get into action around it. So yeah, that's good, Greg. I love that. Failing forward and failing fast. That's probably something that you've heard before. I don't know who it's a quote from. It's not mine, but I think it's really, really supportive. I want to tell you a story about an entrepreneur. Her name's Sarah Blakely. I think her net worth is $1 billion. She is the founder of Spanx. It's a company that I don't remember how many years ago she started it, but one of the things about her story that really stood out to me that I believe is really a part of why she's so successful is that when she was a little girl, her dad would ask her and her brother every day how they had failed. And if they didn't have something to report, like she could feel disappointment in her dad. Like he so valued them stretching and trying new things to the point of failure that it became something that she wasn't afraid of. Failing was not at all something to be afraid of, but actually something to be embraced. So I think there is something to shifting our own mindset around failure and embracing it as actually just a part of the process of growth and a huge learning opportunity. If we're not failing at things regularly, we're really not trying, we're not stretching, we're not growing in the ways that we really could be. So redefining failure, I think, is what it is. Not seeing failure as something to do with our identity, like we must really suck if we have failure, but really seeing it as something that if we are growing, if we're leaning in, if we're in action, if we're trying, if we're not quitting, then there is going to be stuff that we make mistakes with. There are going to be things that we're like, that didn't go the way I was hoping it would go, or the way I thought it might go. But how can we learn from it? How can we see it as an incredible gift, an incredible learning opportunity? When you think about your kids or little kids learning to walk, like none of them go from crawling to walking and just have it. There are so many times where there's like falling down and bumping your chin and falling on your face, and, scraping a knee. All of that happens as just a natural part of learning to do something that you've never done before. So if we're going to get good at things, if we're going to grow, if we're going to learn, if we're going to progress, if we're going to develop, if we're going to take massive imperfect action, of course there's going to be massive imperfect action. It's not going to be perfect. And if we wait until we're confident that we can do something perfectly, there's so much we're going to miss out on. There are so many things that we'll never do. And we'll be one of those people that gets to the end of their life and is like, man, I have all this regret because I just held back on the things that I really wanted to do or felt like I could have been really great at or I could have really contributed to the world. So this is for myself as much as anybody else, but I want to encourage us to get into this place of massive imperfect action, get into this place of making mistakes, failing, learning, growing, and just not quitting. So the 3 things, just to remind you, taking big tasks, breaking them into smaller tasks, getting something on your calendar today, something that you're going to do today. Take immediate action. Anytime you find yourself scared, like do something. Actually get into action. Get up and get into action. Do something. So that's super, super supportive. Hey, good to see you guys on here. Thanks for the shout outs. I love it. Number 2, stop overthinking and getting into analysis paralysis and getting really clear about an action step you can take right now. And then the 3rd one is shifting our view of failure to being something that is actually a treasure to us, a gift to us, seeing failure as a learning part of the process. Part of the learning process. So taking action, immediate, massive, imperfect action is one of the things that separates winners from the non-winners, separates the haves from have-nots, the high achievers from everyday people, and you are one of those people if you just get into action today. So I just want to say that we are not rewarded for what we know, we're rewarded for what we do. So what is it? And I would love to hear in the comments the action step that you are committing to creating today. The thing that you're going to do today to move this thing forward in your life that maybe you've been a little bit slower to get going or you're feeling kind of stuck around. So doing your best, staying in integrity with yourself, massive action. Absolutely, Greg. I love it. Good to see you guys on here. Blessings to all of you. I really pray that this brings more peace into your life as you just take the step of getting into action. And I would love to hear what you guys are up to and what you're creating and what you're in massive imperfect action about today. Love you guys. See you tomorrow.